Welcome back, League fans. Our final game of the evening and of the regular split is coming up with OpTic Academy going up against FlyQuest Academy. And while OpTic won't be making it to playoffs, there's a silver lining here for the squad.
Yeah, the second half of the split was really rough for OpTic Academy, but we know from earlier in the summer that a lot of the newer members on the roster are strong players. They got a lot of room to grow over the course of their careers and have the potential to be attractive pickups for any team in Academy next season.
Today they go up against defending Academy champions in FlyQuest, who just squeaked into playoffs this split.
Yeah, FlyQuest barely made the mark, but they did it in style, absolutely slamming third-place finisher CLG from Academy yesterday. And if they can pull off another win like that today, they'll tie Clutch Gaming and 100 Thieves, which will be resolved with a head-to-head record tiebreaker. FlyQuest will then receive 5th and avoid a rematch with CLG Academy next week.
So, for those of you, just to make sure that was 100% crystal clear, there are no actual tiebreakers to be played after this. Any tiebreakers that would potentially be there are settled through match records so far. We'll see if they can pull that off, though, as we get into our starting lineups. On the blue side, it's OpTic Academy with Alorum in the top lane, Fnatic in the jungle, Palafox at mid, Eclipse and Gate bottom lane and support with Coach Cop.
And on the red side, it's FlyQuest Academy. No in the top lane, Meteos in the jungle, Pekkamwolf mid, Ari and Quan in the bot lane with Coach Gabriel Zoltan Johan.
Now, FlyQuest is an interesting team because remember a few weeks back there was the big Meteos trade fiasco that everybody was losing their minds about, saying, what is 100 Thieves doing? Meteos is making this team work so well. Like, this is such a crazy change to do in the middle of the split. It's worked out pretty well for 100 Thieves, and ever since coming to FlyQuest, Meteos has done well, but it hasn't been like, oh, this team just can't lose a game now because they've got this guy who was having such an amazing performance in LCS. It's just been pretty normal.
Yeah, and I would still say I've seen improvements out of FlyQuest with Meteos joining the team. I think their controlled play has a lot better, and I think Meteos is a great enabler in a team, and one of the things we talked about with FlyQuest is like, well, who is he enabling? You know, Pekkamwolf can be inconsistent, Ari can be inconsistent, No is functioning best as a tank player for the most part. We had a great Poppy game yesterday, and so before he was like, I'm going to get Cody Sun ahead, and then Cody Sun's going to lead the league in DPM, and that's just not really what's happening here for this team, and I think that's something that the team has been struggling with. And of course, the departure of Keen and Shrimp was really big for them in spring, and the fact they still made playoffs speaks to the fact that the other Academy players from that spring roster were not just along there for the ride. They're a playoff team on their own, but it doesn't seem to be no longer the #1 team in Academy.
Well, having Meteos around for that veteran experience and being able to enable anyone else who might be able to step up is definitely a good ace to have up your sleeve as we move towards playoffs. We'll take a look at the bans now. OpTic Academy, they've got Varus, they've got Rakan, they've got Galio banned out. FlyQuest Academy go for the 2 regular ones on the red side with the Aatrox and the Nocturne. Will they kill Mark's hopes and dreams and remove Akali?
Don't you ban it.
Or will they leave it open? Nope! They make everybody's hopes and dreams better and bench the Kinch.
And OpTic will insta-lock it. Here we go. I'm curious to see where that goes because Palafox is traditionally more of a control mage player. He does branch out a little bit, but seems to be at his best when he's on Galios and Victors and Orianas and stuff like that, or Nazirs when that was more meta. Curious to see if this goes to Alorum, who, while also being a good tank player, does also have that kind of pocket Wukong and assassins that he sometimes plays from the top lane.
I was going to say, remember Alorum back before he actually became a serious competitive player for League of Legends was a Wukong one-trick. He played a lot of Wukong. I think he was like #1 Wukong in A or something like that. He was really, 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 really good at Wukong. So maybe we'll get to see him reprise some of that stealth assassin type of role here today. I'm not quite sure. FlyQuest Academy going to go for a couple more standard picks in the Braum and the Ryze with their first rotation. OpTic answering that Braum with the Morgana.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do because, once again, we see Pekkamwolf in his 2nd time in a row this week taking the Ryze into potentially the Akali mid lane. Worked out real well for him last time around, so maybe that will scare Palafox off it, and we'll see if it actually does end up going topside. For the rest, though, got some annoying champions coming in for OpTic in terms of keeping people alive like we saw in that previous game. It was game 2, I think it was, where there's so much counterplay available here with the Morgana Black Shield and the Kindred ultimate already coming in. It'll be tough for FlyQuest to find a quick kill in any of these fights.
Unless, well, the Graves is locked in. I was going to say, unless you pick up the Gragas and blow people out of the Kindred ulti again, but that's not going to be the case this time around. It's Marksman Jungler versus Marksman Jungler.
Yes.
Had to make sure I had my finger guns pointing at the right champions. Very important.
Yeah, the angle.
Yeah. You gotta get the angles right. See.
Yeah. We'll have to see what they choose to go with. Both teams actually potentially matching all their roles in the first half of the draft, which can sometimes lead to some strange bans in the second half where people are like, I want to play this and you want to play this.
But what
do I ban it?
Do I ban myself? Thinking emoji. But we are going to see a pretty heavy AD carry focus so far. Caitlyn and Ashe, the two bans first coming out in this second part of that ban phase. And maybe we're going to go down the tier list a little bit here, Mark.
We'll have to see. I mean, Varus is still up. Varus is banned the first.
We got rid of him in the first part.
I'm an idiot. We'll see what they can do.
We all make mistakes. That doesn't mean we're idiots. It just means we're human. Wholesome.
That's sweet of you, yeah. They get rid of the Swain, so still some bot lane focus here. We'll have to see what else. I mean, otherwise you're looking at the Kai'Sa being up. Potentially a Jhin is some stuff that we've been seeing. Lucian's always an option. They have the Braum pick, so maybe that would make some sense for OpTic to ban out. We'll see what they do.
Lucian's always a lot of fun to watch. It's always one of the flashiest champions with all the dashing and spell slinging put together. I don't know if we'll get to see him or not, though. Final ban. Kai'Sa. All right, so they will take out some of that crazy carry potential that we saw in one of our games earlier today. And with the Swain gone, that means that they do want to see some more standard stuff in the bot lane as opposed to that big burly mage.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see that prioritized a little bit more against Aerie, who doesn't come across too much like a Lucian player. I'm sure he can play it, but yeah, no surprise to see him going for something else potentially. This Jinx would be a little surprising. Have not really seen it too much, as he actually will go for the Lucian. All right, let's go. Stepping up to the plate.
All we had to do was talk about the pick a little bit, and it's sort of they could feel the vibes from here.
Well, with all the bans and the fact you have the Braum, it's like Lucian is the obvious choice.
Just go for Lucian.
Yeah, so everyone kind of agreeing on that pick. OpTic might be going for a mix-up, wanting to go aggro in the bot lane and take that kind of early game style. Go for the Quinn.
I'll take that.
All right.
See, normally when somebody hovers Draven and switches to something else, I'm pretty much always going to be disappointed. But Quinn, I'm not disappointed.
Yeah,
I'll take that. That's aggro.
Absolutely true. And she's a champion that uses Stormrazor extremely well.
Oh, yeah.
And with the buffs, all good. Highest win rate bot laner on the current patch. With Diamond and above.
Yeah.
Only Mordekaiser is right underneath her, actually. About half a percentage point. Yeah, Mordekaiser bot lane.
Always shield, never die, Mordekaiser?
Oh, Mordekaiser.
That Mordekaiser.
That Mordekaiser.
I'll be.
The Mordekaiser.
That is a good way to put it. A Sion will be the final pick for the side of OpTic.
Womp womp.
And hey, that means that we'll see a Kali mid lane and Sion top, and it's not a Lorem on a Kali.
Nope, not the case, and of course, No was not going to play Jace as much as he likes to hover it for Quan. You knew it was going to be a tank, and there we go, the Poppy up on the top side. Two, all things considered, pretty standard team comps with OpTic branching out a little bit more. Assassins in the mid lane aren't that crazy, but Akali is new, and Marksmen in the bot lane aren't that crazy, but Quinn is a different kind of marksman. So while having a lot of the elements of a standard team comp, it is still a pretty flashy one.
Once again, I'm going to be watching the Akali and seeing how well Palafox understands the champion.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier today, we saw Golden Glue demonstrate a pretty impressive knowledge of the mechanics and just how you should play the champion, not just in terms of, oh, here's what my ability does, this is how I time it, but this is where I need to position myself. This is how I need to orient myself towards the other players in the fight to make sure that I have the maximum effect. And I'd love to see that again here.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff we were seeing out of him compared to Tuesday was good, where you saw Golden Glue willing to give up the E damage and jump to get the guaranteed gap closer on his target to land some of the Qs to slow and then get the passive proc off. And I didn't see Tuesday going for that at all. And, you know, sometimes people talk about the difference between going for a guaranteed setup that might not have as big of an upside for, you know, favoring that instead of the optimal punish if you're actually able to get it correct. Here we see, yet again, another new Akali skin.
I was going to say that, too.
What is the ramen?
3 for 3. That's got to be space ramen. Yeah, we really want to see the ramen on this one, but I don't think anybody other than Golden Glue is actually spamming the emotes.
Or a producer could go look up the AMA about Akali, where I think that was the question.
Did they actually answer if there's alien ramen?
Not alien ramen, but there was a ramen question. I remember reading it, and I know that they talked about there being multiple ramens, but I don't remember if it was they made multiple ramens and chose one, or if each skin has a different one. I don't remember.
I'm kind of just really hoping for some alien ramen now with like the...
Would you like to hear that she has alien ramen but then not see it this game? Because that sounds pretty disappointing.
Well, then I know that I can go play it in practice tool later and see the alien ramen, so I've got something to look forward to.
You just YouTube all the ramens probably.
No, I'm doing it myself.
All right. That's... There you go. That's a do-it-yourself kind of attitude. I like it.
Yeah, that's why I said I'll do it myself. All right.
Do you not like me repeating you?
All right. Both sides are starting off on the red buffs. Give those over to the marksman junglers. Make sure they've got that extra auto attack power. As Meteos will pick this up for himself on the Graves. And Graves so far, we saw the first game with the Graves versus Trundle. Didn't have that great of a time. Second time around, better. This time around, he's not against Trundle, though.
No, not against Trundle. And also, big difference from a lot of those games is there's no carries in the top lane. This is a tank versus tank matchup. What we were talking about a lot about before was how like jungler difference, and a lot of it was about influencing that. So once the Trundle got ahead by killing top lane like 2 or 3 times, there's a 3-0 Trundle suddenly. We see a skirmish over the Scuttle Crab. Meteos quickly redirects onto Fnatic.
Meteos says, you don't want to fight Graves close and personal like this, as No comes in and brings down the hammer. Good collapse there from FlyQuest.
Yeah, and with that, No gets a red buff, so he's going to be very happy to run back to lane with that. Poppy level 2 having way bigger of an impact in skirmishes than a Scion ever will. Able to find that kill right away. Does cost him his flash, the only summoner used in that exchange, but...
And for first blood and a red buff?
Definitely worth it.
I'll give that away every day. But also remember, with that red buff in lane, that's going to proc every time he throws his shield. That will be obnoxious for Alorum to have to deal with.
Yeah, definitely gonna feel bad. Can't win trades anymore, probably, as you also get the health regen portion of it. We see the bot lane. Eclipse showing why that Quinn pick can be pretty frustrating. If you ever missed the Jat Analyst Death segment where he explained how it works.
Shouldn't have missed that.
Shouldn't have missed that. All your abilities will give them a hairier proc. And so there's a lot of combos. The easiest one is basically go bird mode with your ult. You right-click them to proc it. So we actually got a replay real quick of this skirmish. And nice by Meteos to instantly go back onto Fnatic. Doesn't get the wall damage, unfortunately, but he knows No is coming. And No, very explosive play to get that kill off. No time to react at all, really. Fnatic maybe could have flashed the wall stun if he was a god. But it was tough to react to when you're obviously focusing way more on the fact that Graves is attacking you.
My head scratcher is more so in the fact that Fnatic decided to go for that fight to begin with. I mean, he squares up with Meteos when he's got 80% health. Meteos is at 100. It just doesn't seem like a fight that makes a lot of sense at the time. So OpTic Academy has to get themselves back here on the bottom side. A nice black shield, going to keep Eclipse nice and safe. Meteos shows up here trying to make something happen, but OpTic has already disengaged. Yeah,
black shield lasts just a little bit too long. Quan felt like he needed to proc the fourth hit of the passive. And of course, after that, shield's still up. No stun comes through. And Eclipse doesn't even get chunked out that badly from it.
I mean, yeah, OpTic Academy's bottom lane doesn't look like a bottom lane that just suffered a really nasty gank. They look pretty much as good as you could expect them to be. Palafox will continue farming up here in the mid lane, utilizing the 5-point strike to make sure that he gets those cannon minions. Remember, as a spammable ability, despite the high energy cost, it's not going to have a super high damage output here early on. You can see as he's hitting the minions with it, it does about as much as an auto attack. So until he gets some scaling on him, it's not going to be too punishing. He did start with a Dorian shield up in that melee versus ranged matchup, kind of like what we mentioned earlier. Akali will have a harder time in those as compared to up against other melee champions, so wants to go for the defensive option. Just make sure that he can keep getting this farm as the lane goes on so he can scale into that later stage.
Yep, playing against Akali, you want to make sure that you're not giving her the free healing and harass by standing next to your ranged minions, because if she clips you with that, she'll get a potential passive proc off, which then she can use to regain energy, which helps her pushing. So not getting hit by her Qs incidentally while she uses them for the wave is a pretty big thing about laning against her. It's a lot harder in those melee matchups where everyone's kind of messing around in the wave, but Heckenwolf doing a good job making sure not to get hit by those. But hey, he's going in for the fight.
Heckenwolf gets himself stunned up here, but he does take the ulti away, looking to get back underneath the turret, but the perfect execution comes through. I said I wanted to see mechanical knowledge of the champion, and there it is demonstrated. Good job from Palafox.
Yeah, absolutely the right play by Palafox. He hits him with the E because Heckenwolf is kind of limited in the amount of range he can use to dodge because he wants to take his ultimate. So there's a limited space for him to try and avoid it. Palafox lands the E, and then he does not take it right away. He waits for the Realm Warp to complete. And Akali's E has no max range on the reactivation that pulls you to your target. So he uses that for the gap closer, uses the second part of his ultimate for the damage, and assassinates Peckinwolf.
Good job from FlyQuest. Or from OpTic, excuse me, finding that punish there onto FlyQuest. See, this is how I know that the champion's brand new, and I haven't got to experience a lot of it myself yet either, because I was genuinely curious as he was about to hit level 6 from level 5, does he have the burst to make his play work with how close Peckinwolf is to the turret? And now we know the answer to the question, as bottom side is 2 versus 2 yet again. Ari and Quan not afraid of going up against this Quinn in the bottom lane. Peckinwolf now trying to get himself away from Palafox here yet again. Does find a little bit of damage into the Shroud, landing the Rune Prison right as Palafox shows up out of that stealth. Eclipse has to flash away, barely gets out. Ari going really aggro there.
Yeah, nice binding to make sure that that didn't convert into anything. Has the heal Summoner spell, which is the extra combat for Ari. Maybe if that binding didn't land, could have healed to get in range. There you go, there's the stun, there's the damage. Peckinwolf drops that, and then the E was landed so he can go back in. And then, ooh, a fancy
replay.
Fancy look on that as you see the pierce through on that knife. Stab him in the heart of Peckinwolf and picking up that kill.
That's what we need right there. Cinematic replay for a cinematic moment. Palafox will go right back up to farming here in this mid lane, though. Still a 600 gold lead for FlyQuest Academy as Meteos is thinking about Fnatic and thinking about red buffs. Let's see how well those thoughts work out for him. Won't find the damage from the end of the line. Smite comes down from Fnatic onto the red buff to keep himself topped up on HP. Meteos saves his Smite long enough to secure the buff. As Palafox wants to move in and secure the kill, he finds it onto Meteos, and OpTic walks away.
Interesting play by Meteos there, feeling like even with his flash up, there is no way to get to Palafox, which, knowing the stickiness of Akali might be true, so instead of flashing out, flashes back in to try and find a cleanup kill onto Fnatic, who was still not 6 because he got the buff for Meteos, or Gate, and just came up a little bit short as Palafox still followed him over the wall. So a bit of a surprising play initially, but might have been making the best of a bad situation.
Yep, 2 kills onto Akali is right where you'd want to see that gold going for the side of OpTic Academy, though. They'll bring the gold back up to even, a little bit in their favor with that play, as you can see FlyQuest just saying, okay, keep Kindred off the marks if nothing else. They're continually prioritizing these crabs, keeping those away from Fnatic, as Meteos will pick up yet another one of those for himself. Peckinwolf finding a little bit of damage here onto Palafox, taking down half his HP bar. Meteos hanging around in the wings, and you have to think that Peckinwolf, or Palafox rather, recognizes something is funny here with Peckinwolf trying to fight him like that with 10% mana remaining. Likely knows Meteos, or at least someone is hanging around here nearby. You can see a lot of vision in the northern part of the map for FlyQuest Academy, while there's practically nothing for OpTic. So whenever somebody's not on the map, you've got to be thinking, are they coming after me? Are they looking to punish the all-in if you're Palafox?
Yeah, good decision to not try and take an extended trade there with more people nearby. And like you said, the FlyQuest focus on these is bounty marks is really good for them, because I'm pretty sure Fnatic is still at 0, despite the fact he got 2 of the assists. I don't think he ever got his mark off on them. And that was evidenced by the fact that the Scuttle Crab mark spawned on, or the mark spawned on a Scuttle Crab, which happens when it has 1. It's guaranteed to spawn on one of those, and then they got taken away yet again by FlyQuest. So I'm not sure if Fnatic has his first mark, and Meteos continues to take that kind of jungle tempo advantage despite his death, securing the Infernal Drake for his team.
Good Drake secure for the side of FlyQuest. Extra damage on this team will never be frowned upon. Top side, we haven't really checked up on these guys in a while. Ever since that first
one we don't need to.
This is tank v tank. This is the wet noodle fight.
The epitome of the wet noodle fight. Ooh, didn't even get the E to land. You had the camera on you for the first time.
Even if it would have landed, it would have done 32 damage.
I know, but I'm just saying the camera's finally on the top lane, and he missed the E.
Feels bad, man.
Feels bad, man.
Bottom side, Meteos wants to make this one work out. Let's see if they can do it. Eclipse going to be taking low. Gate here as well. Glacial Fissure comes out, putting a lot of damage down. They grab the kill onto the enemy 80 carry. His flash was not available there in that fight. Meteos coming around from the top now. Fnatic trying to turn that aggro back around on him. The binding comes out, and Fnatic, with the help of that CC, will grab the kill, make this one a 1-for-1.
Nice trade back by Gate, getting that flash binding down, but the bot lane of OpTic, despite picking the Quinn, still losing the matchup that they counterpicked into. Ari getting the most out of these trades, and surprisingly hasn't even used heal yet this game, despite having the combat summoner advantage. Has not been forced into using it. Now is a 10 CS lead, and it was nice of Meteos to come over the top with that ultimate to finalize the kill from all the early work that Peckinwolf did. Here we go, another top lane skirmish.
All right, No's deciding to fight. Let's see what he does.
He's baiting though. Akali is on the way up. They did danger ping it, so it feels like No knows. I didn't want to know. No.
Oh, I know you meant to do that one.
No, I didn't. After in the middle of it, I realized I was about to do it. Anyways, here's the replay. So much damage already done by Aerie that Meteos can get that free, easy kill over the top. But there's no vision to know that Aerie or Fnatic was coming in to collapse, and then with a challenging smite up, able to find that very easily. Nice binding by Gate to make sure there's no way Meteos was getting out. But the bot lane's still under a lot of trouble here for the side of OpTic.
Eclipse is standing on a ward that he's not aware of. He wanted to hang back in this lane and just try to sit in EXP range without his opponents noticing him there, but unfortunately for him, the ward was placed down preemptively, so they were aware. Morgana makes her way back down towards the lane now, and Gate will just try to be menacing, but honestly, up against this Lucian Braum lane, he's not that scary. And we'll continue pushing up the top side here as well, working on that Sunfire cape to make sure that he maintains push pressure against this Scion, who is working on the Frozen Heart first item that we've seen so much of so far today. We've already seen 2 separate games where that item was built, once by Pyke, once by Trundle, I believe. Very effective item against multiple attack speed champions like the Graves and the Lucian. Lorum, no, nothing to really comment on here. I think 5% of your health bar is about all you're going to lose.
From a full combo.
Yeah.
Not that impressive. Surprised to see Palafox not being able to get more done with the 2-0 kills that he had as Gate. Out of position yet again.
Oh, Gate's in some trouble here. Decides to try to turn things around. Let's see if they can make it happen. Gate is going to be taken very low here. The rotation comes through. FlyQuest able to find themselves 1. Is it going to be 2? Answer is yes. Peckinwolf shows up with the artillery fire just in time to make this a 4-3 game.
Yeah, nice reaction there by FlyQuest. And it's surprising to see Eclipse with that TP. It's another time where that no combat summoner maybe would have played into it. Maybe not, as it did feel like it was pretty free for FlyQuest there, but they did have the extra advantage. Now Peckinwolf has to be careful under the turret.
Peckinwolf went really close to these guys, and we know how strong Palafox is. That was just not respectful.
That was exactly what I was looking for, and I said you got the 2-0 Akali. As soon as he knows where the enemy jungler is, gets the wave pushing under the turret and uses that obscurity to avoid taking turret damage.
I was trying to remember that word earlier when I said stealth, and for some reason it just wouldn't come to mind.
Like, I'm just saying, like, obscure as a keyword is fine. Obscurity as an adjective is not.
Wait, isn't obscurity, it's a thing, right? It's a noun.
Yeah, obscurity, I guess you're right. Anything more about this? Anyways, here's the kill. Kind of goes in. Fnatic chips in some extra damage, gets the first dash with a stun, which is all he needs to get out. Also, interrupt by No next to the wall. Alarim ulting him point blank to stop that. Pretty funny to see.
Palafox, nope, he's going to get out just fine for now. Meteos gets a little bit of damage in passing, but also takes some of his own. Fnatic not just going to stand by and watch his mid laner get shot up like that. He'll return some fire there. As you can see, the completed jungle items are there for both junglers. The ruby crystals that will facilitate their black cleavers have also been constructed. Honestly, it's pretty blow for blow so far this game. 3-0 on that Akali Gunblade completed. Sorcerer's Shoe completed. Amp Tome in the inventory could be built into a wonderful plethora of AP itemization that we will soon find out what it is, but I am going to take a wild shot in the dark and say Zhonya's.
Yeah, I would like the Zhonya's in here. There's 3 melee threats and only Peckinwolf with the MR, or the AP, excuse me, so I can see that being a pretty good item here, as well as allowing you to potentially bait out some of these tools that FlyQuest has. I would like to see that indeed. And Akali in the side lane now. What's interesting to me that is the fact that Eclipse is the one who took the teleport. We were talking about how with Quinn's ultimate giving her so much map mobility, able to run around at the speed of light, you don't need the TP quite as much, and so you can take a combat summoner for lane, and still when you get into these potential 1-3-1 setups, affect side lanes pretty well. Maybe you don't get there quite as fast, but you still will get to most fights as long as you're able to ult and run there undisturbed. And surprisingly, he did take the TP. Aerie's the one who took the combat summoner, and I don't know how much that played into the laning phase. Maybe Eclipse didn't feel like he could trade as aggressively, knowing the enemy team had a summoner up on him. And maybe that has contributed to the laning phase loss that they took.
And now that you mention it, it is a little strange to see that kind of a decision being made on someone with that much mobility in the kit, but maybe the plan is late game to just have him be able to be literally anywhere he needs to be, teleport into the base for a win or something crazy like that. FlyQuest, though, will grab themselves Earth Drake #1, Total Elemental Drake #2. As you can hear the Scion ulti go off as Alorum goes right back to base. There's nothing better than an ultimate that you mostly use to run away with where your champion yells cowards as he casts it. I don't think Robot Scion does that, though. He just goes... Yeah, he just makes wee-whoop noises.
Yeah. How close was that?
You're pretty close.
Yeah?
I think that was pretty good. I like that.
Now we see some pressure around the mid lane as No has evacuated the top lane.
Oh, nice flash forward. Infiltration Fissure from Quan there, but also a good Lamb's Respite from Eclipse. Going to buy a little bit more time here. Gate tries to get himself away, but the culling comes through over the wall. Meteos likely the trade here as Palafox goes on a rampage, finds himself his 4th kill of the game. Quan also dropping means it's 2 for 2.
Yeah, nice collapse there as Peckman still kind of on the wrong side of the map, but we'll take this trade.
Not too afraid of Alorum, but Alorum and Pals is an entirely different situation. No underneath the turret, drops a steadfast presence, just moves forward, says, get the hell away from my turret. Slams down the hammer. Airy finds a little bit of auto attack damage there. Palafox not slammed into the wall means he gets away just fine. Peckenwolf still looking to find a little bit more here, maybe with the lockdown from a Rune Prism, but can't quite get in range.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see if FlyQuest would have gone if that wall stun had hit. But not the case. Both teams seem like they're going to disengage here. Maybe FlyQuest stick around, try and use this cannon wave to take this turret down. Eclipse is back, though, with his ultimate, as well as Gate has respawned, so they're still pressuring, but...
FlyQuest really wants this, and Gate nearly gets taken down. 25% HP left means he's going to hobble away from that one, and yeah, even though Eclipse is there, he's just not scary right now, Mark. Yeah, so taking a look at this play, No had evacuated the top side to try and make this, but the Akali has a TP to match this, and with the Lamb's Respite as well, able to keep multiple members alive, it buys enough time for this Akali ultimate to basically complete. Gate and them try and disengage. Meteos used his ultimate to clean one up. Airy got the other, but now Meteos is stuck under the turret, and the Braum was the one tanking the entire time, so those 2 kills get traded back instantly. Palafox up to 4-0 now, actually going for the Grievous Wounds. Captain Flowers? If nothing else, he's at least making a pit stop for Oblivion Orb on the way to his next big item, which I almost always support on a mid lane AP champion these days. The item is just so cost effective when combined with Sorcerer's Shoes especially to give you the extra penetration and make it so you can find that burst. I mean, with this much flat penetration as well as just the sheer power of the Hextech Gunblade with that active, if Ares in the wrong spot and not protected, or Peckenwolf even, what are they going to do about this? That 5-point strike just took out the entirety of the Seraph's Embrace. Yeah, that was a trade of an ultimate for a Seraph's, but you see Palafox is not afraid to go and test the limits of his champion. I like your point a lot about the double pen boot, or the double pen items and not necessarily needing to complete it. I hope he doesn't, because there's not really that much healing on the side of FlyQuest Academy, and I'm sure you can use that extra 2K-ish gold that it is to finish the item. As long as you don't spend it on a Void Staff. Yeah. Not yet. Maybe, not yet. Maybe later. Maybe later. Yeah, this is one where the enemy team does have 2 tanky members, and maybe Graves gets a Hex Drinker and stuff like that. But for now, yeah, do not need that. FlyQuest will grab themselves the Rift Herald. 2,500 gold up. With that in inventory means that that lead could climb even higher. They've already taken down 2 turrets on the side of OpTic Academy. Can they find the rest? That top lane tier 1 still standing pretty tall. We'll see if they decide to commit the Rift Herald up there for that, or if they want to try to push into one of these tier 2s, make a deeper effort instead. Peckenwolf gets a little bit of damage down onto Palafox, who will find some healing with a 5-point strike. You see, it's not bad for Peckenwolf. If he's able to land the basically instant E before the obscured status gets applied to Palafox, he can then hit the Q because it's no longer targeted, and it allows you to actually still chip away at the Akali pretty effectively in the Shroud as long as you're getting your runes applied through the E. And you can even spread them from minions if she's trying to use the Shroud within the minion wave. There's actually, now I think about it, a couple things that are good for it. Get a fight in the mid. Oh, Gate just completely destroyed there in that fight. They don't even have the chance to go for the honest 2v2. Quan goes for the Glacial Fissure, going to be interrupting these guys, if only for a moment. TP continuing to be channeled. No makes his way into the fight, not able to find the wall. Slam down onto Eclipse, still takes him very low. Walks his way back into the Lamb's Respite, but No is still just tanking way too much. He's taken low, he's taken down, and Palafox walks himself out of the fight. That is a 2-for-1 going the way of OpTic.
Yeah, Palafox spent the entire fight messing around with area on the backside of the fight, which means No was alone diving in there, no damage really following up with him. Palafox could not quite find the kill, but still almost got it. And in return, bought his team enough time to kill the enemy tank.
4-0-2 for this Akali. As the Drake is spawning in under 1 minute. It's Infernal Drake number 2. It's very important, and FlyQuest recognizes that, trying to put some bodies down here, set down some wards, clear out some vision. But at the same time, Scuttle has been secured by the side of OpTic Academy. Also worth noting, Eclipse does have that static shiv up and running at this point, along with the Storm Razors. So 2 storm-themed items coming out for him. 2 big procs.
I thought birds didn't like storms.
Maybe it trains them to navigate better because they're flying in rough weather. Only the strongest birds can fly through the storm, Mark.
Yeah, and then they take the training weights off.
Yeah,
and it's a clear day.
And he's ready. Get the weep music ready to go for when Eclipse is done flying through the storm. As the wave will continue to be pushed in here in the mid lane. That Drake spawns in 10 seconds. Total control over the bottom river being exercised now by OpTic Academy. 3 control wards placed down throughout it. In the side brush for the mid lane, the pixel brush, and even the bottom brush towards that bottom lane. Fnatic will start up the Drake by himself, and it looks like FlyQuest will not respond to this one in time.
Nope, too much pressure with all that wave clear in the mid lane. In fact, they're fake sieging the turret just by space. Now Eclipse is going to scoot his way back onto the mid lane, and there's not really going to be much for FlyQuest to answer back with.
Lorem got a nice little bit of stun down there on those guys as they were trying to walk up to see if maybe there was anything to collapse on. But mid lane, that Rift Herald we were talking about earlier does get summoned, and they will go for the option of using it to go for the deeper objective with the tier 2. Shelly does find her headbutt to finish that one off. They'll try to escort her up here to get at least a little bit more damage onto this tier 3. Here we go. Half the HP is already gone. Forget half. That thing is deleted. FlyQuest Academy make one hell of a push and break into the enemy base. But now can they get out without the punish? Gate decides to flash forward, go for the binding. Can't quite find it. The accuracy's not there. Know the member that's separated from the rest of the team, but that's not the guy that you can really try to assassinate if you're Palafox. He doesn't get the procs on the auto attack from that passive yet. Lorem goes far ahead of the rest of the team. Going to be chain CC, slammed up into the wall, and beat down. FlyQuest will take the free kill on that one.
Yeah, FlyQuest showing that they know a thing or two, just like their main roster, on when to push and how to play with tempo in this game. They lost the Elemental Drake, and OpTic was very slow about wrapping around back to the mid lane. And Palafox instead chose to try and split push down the bot side, but they had the Rift Herald advantage to make it so it was not even close of a push, as well as the double marksman being able to hit away on that turret. With a Mountain Drake as well, made it so that they were actually able to grab the inhibitor turret off of that push, and OpTic really get punished. They felt like they got flustered a little bit and decided to pull the trigger on a situation where, for the most part, FlyQuest had already disengaged, and no surprise, Lorem ends up in the middle of the enemy team alone. Yeah,
that was really well done by FlyQuest, just honestly, knowing they could go for the inhibitor turret there, and then staying cool enough to just say, okay, kill Lorem, now leave. They didn't get greedy afterwards either, which is what I like. Sometimes you get a total fiesta where one guy overcommits, then a guy from the other side overcommits, and it's a game of Red Rover where you're daring the other guy over, and everybody just takes the dare. But this time around, FlyQuest was able to make sure that they came out on top. This team now finds themselves 4,500 gold up. No continues pressuring the bottom side, but Eclipse makes his way down here. We'll see how well this Poppy can escape. Steadfast Presence does a good job there interrupting the Quinn E. No acts like he's going to go over the wall, but instead decides, nah, I don't even need to. Just walks away.
Nice play there by No, making sure he doesn't get the knockback onto himself. Maybe Eclipse could have waited out, because I think No had actually done it first. He's going yet again here. This time gets this knock up on it, but No's going to try and turn this around maybe. His team is kind of close to collapsing.
He's got backup coming towards him, but so does OpTic Academy. Palafox will be taken down to about half HP, but No's the one who's finished off. FlyQuest Academy now might lose multiple people. It's Fnatic who's in some trouble, looking to put these last couple of shots into Airy, and he does find him. This is pretty big here for OpTic, Mark. Quan now trying to get away from the rest of the Morgana ulti, make sure he's not rooted up by that. Wolf looking for a little bit of damage down onto him. 2 for 0 so far for the side of OpTic. Nice punish.
Yeah, it's good to see OpTic finally using their comp to code what it's able to do, splitting up and then having Eclipse kind of run between the lanes and try and find not only farm, but kills if people are out of position. No got a little greedy after he got out the first time, didn't commit to staying out, as his team had kind of was collapsing initially. They saw he got out, and then they started turning around to leave him, and he put himself back in a position to get re-engaged on by Eclipse, who opened that one off, and then they tried to cut off Palafox in the escape, and Palafox intelligently changed his target.
Peckinwolf getting himself away from the stun from the ultimate, but now he's going to be in trouble from the follow-up. The image coming through, gets himself back underneath that tier 1 turret. Meteos off to the side, going to be trying to kite himself away from this Akali. Flashes over the wall, staying alive for now. She's still back into the Shroud. The slam comes down from the Scion to zone everybody else away, but Lamb's Respite going to be keeping everybody alive for now. Fnatic jumping himself away, almost taken down, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, Mark, as No can't chase him down, and Fnatic will heal up off of the chicken king.
Just barely getting out there with their lives. A good usage of the Lamb's Respite by Fnatic. And a very close skirmish results in no kills. OpTic are starting to feel like they're making their way back into the game, still down 3,000 gold and no turrets in their favor. So if they can ever win one of these fights a little bit more decisively on FlyQuest side of the map, they have a lot of standing gold to catch back up into this game.
Lots and lots indeed. I want to quickly check in on Palafox as well, because I remember talking earlier about the build and where we hope he goes with it. He does decide to complete the Morellonomicon, goes for the Grievous Wounds as well as just the enhanced stats on the item. Now also going for that Zhonya's Hourglass that I was initially predicting to be the second item, so I was off by 1 there. I'll take a consolation prize, sure, whatever. That'll be helpful as he dives in and tries to make these plays onto the back line that he has found success with so far, but as we also saw in that last play, Peckinwolf with this Banshee's Veil on the rise, pretty big for making it so OpTic can't engage on him.
Yeah, definitely the case. And now with a fair amount of MR onto 2 of the members, you have to wonder if maybe...
Is it time for the Void Staff? Is it appropriate?
Or maybe should you have gone Zhonya's as your second item straight into Void Staff? And you skip the flat pen a little bit, makes you not as good at killing Airy. It's tough to say. Either way, you know, as much as we're talking about his build, it's mostly coming out of a place of curiosity because there's no standardized Akali build yet, and Palafox is obviously having a great game.
That's why we're having the conversation around it, is what does seem to be the best situation for this champion in these moments. Quan could be in some trouble. Glacial Fissure down onto the front line. Unbreakable keeping himself alive. But Palafox says no, sir. He is dominating. Now moving around in the Shroud, giving himself going still. Meteos taken down below half HP. Peckinwolf and No trying to zone the rest of the team away. Palafox goes down, and that one's going to be big. That is your carry out of the picture now, as Alorum is going to soak the shots from Airy. He tries to get himself away from this. No goes over the wall with the flash. Fnatic says, gets himself over the wall as well. And it looks like the fight is going to stop. It's a 2-for-1 go in the favor of FlyQuest.
Yeah, but they have enough pressure now to potentially start off onto the Baron. Looks like they're going to choose to instead go down to this Ocean Drake. It's 28 minutes in the game. Both carries are dead. Fnatic does still have his Lamb's Respite, so there's a bit of a risk there. Meteos also has no Smite, so I guess that's why they chose not to risk a potential Baron steal situation and get the easier Freer objective. But a nice fight there by FlyQuest. 2 important things here. One, the front line and back line really get split off really hard here as they're initially engaging. They want to continue to try and chase through, but Quan is able to effectively get out and pull Palafox all the way in with him, and No has ejected of the people from the backside, as well as Eclipse just getting blown up by Peckinwolf. And so now the backline has no damage for OpTic with the death of Eclipse and Fnatic getting kicked out, and then it's just Palafox alone diving, and his backline's not being able to accomplish anything. So good play by Peckinwolf and No, who kind of took out both of those other backline members and made it an easy fight for FlyQuest to clean up.
It seems like it's constantly the team who's trying to start things is the team that the fight turns around on. Just like in bottom lane when Poppy decided, okay, this is where we turn it, team.
Yeah. And
it went the other way. And then mid lane where Alorum's like, no, this is where we go in, team. And then it turned on him. It seems that erring on the side of caution is the name of the game as we move through the midpoint of this match, getting closer and closer to 30 minutes, closer and closer to that late game where every mistake will mean that much more.
And I think FlyQuest have actually kicked off this Baron with a 3-man while posturing. Yeah, there goes the blue trinket, but it's too late. Baron buff already down below 2,000. They're going to finish this off and Realm Warp out instantly.
Nicely done.
And this is the stuff that we're talking about FlyQuest seems to have improved on over the course of the split, as No is going to be fine here. Is that their macro has become so much better ever since the addition of Meteos. That push down the mid lane to get that inhibitor, the Baron call right there are both great, great calls, and their skirmishing still sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired, and that's what they're looking to improve the most on, but they are one of the best teams at macro in Academy by far.
And even though, like I said earlier, bringing Meteos onto this team, it's not some moment where you're like, oh my gosh, this team wins every game now because they have a guy who was playing in LCS. Just having that leadership, having that experience, as you already demonstrated, showing up big here for FlyQuest Academy, who now with this buff, remember, they don't even have to deal with the normal wall of, okay, guys, we got to siege up, knock down this turret. We got that 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's going to make it so much easier to get some good usage out of this, and then they'll have to split up and start working down the inners and the side lanes. A little bit of a decision, it feels like, on walking up on this. Maybe not wanting to risk getting pincered into that base.
At least want a little bit of pressure on one of the side lanes first, I guess.
Yeah, right after I praised their brilliant macro, they don't have control of their top wave. They all reset, and they don't do anything.
Yeah, FLYKR strikes again. Eclipse will hang out here on the top side just to see who shows up. Peckinwolf will farm all of that up. You can see the assist me ping coming out right now. As Peckinwolf finds himself jumped. Who even needs the Akali? Oh, wait, never mind. I guess you do need the Akali.
Yeah, people talk about how there's some more damage in League of Legends these days.
That was some damage, Mark.
That was some damage, as it looked like Peckinwolf was about to get 3-shot, and instead it's Eclipse who gets 2-shot.
I'll raise you a shot.
Yeah. And now, OpTic are down pressure as more people were committed up to the top side.
Sion is able to get himself out of there. Alorum utilizing the ulti to retreat. They were not able to put someone in front of him on the side of FlyQuest. That is really the only way to deal with that. You have to body block him so that he can't run away. But FlyQuest have now found their opportunity to go for that mid lane inhibitor. Nobody can stop them. Palafox is still on the top side. Meanwhile, the waves have been prepped. It's bottom that is the next target here for FlyQuest Academy. The tier 2 will fall rather easily. It's a 4-man push now looking for the T3. Palafox still backing there in that top lane. They don't know exactly how soon he'll get back to the base. It looks like he has found his way back there now. FlyQuest need to be careful not to fall into a 4 versus 5 with Peckinwolf in that top lane. He does have TP to join the fight, but considering just how much damage is... Oh, you hate to see it. Question mark pings from both teams. On top of that, Zonya's Hourglass as now the Sion ulti comes in, not going to find his way onto anybody to start things off. Nice disengage coming in from No, knocking him out of the front line so he can't continue to make things ready. Eclipse wants to come in from behind, looking to find the damage onto Meteos here. Now going to be taken very low himself, having to flash away. Shut down over onto Peckinwolf, comes in for Fnatic, but it is going to be traded away as Airy picks up the kill onto Eclipse. Fnatic now trying to retreat along with his top laner and mid laner. The bottom lane for OpTic have both been dispatched. Peckinwolf down on the side of FlyQuest means it's 1 for 2. They're still going to continue to push here. The front line is healthy. Airy has full HP. Fnatic has no ultimate. He does have the ultimate, excuse me. It's ready to go if they can possibly find the opportunity to make that happen. No now in retreat with the rest of FlyQuest. No Warmogs on this Poppy. All that damage is going to stick, and they decide to head home. Inhibitor turret in their pocket.
Yeah, Baron Buff had ran out, so they call the push off. Here you see them decide to go, and this is a nice flank by the Quinn to start things off. Palafox is going in and buying time, trying to keep them interested, while Eclipse wraps around the backside. No Zhonya's here is a big problem, as obviously Gate's just going to get popped for that, and Eclipse not sure what is happening around him and stops kiting and starts channeling his ultimate. That's the big problem for this fight for them, because otherwise it would have been a 1-for-1 trade thus far, and you can wrap back around to meet up with Fnatic, and then they can go try and fight front to back a little bit more. Maybe Palafox can find a re-engage. As soon as you lose Eclipse, that hope's over. They lose their inhibitor turret, but like I said, no Baron buff. FlyQuest wants to call it off and not risk getting respawned on. 2 big problems by OpTic there. The Zhonya's being blown by Gate, and Eclipse decision to try and remount as Quinn, costing them.
Bottom lane's going to need to make things a little bit cleaner if they want to find a win here in this game on the side of OpTic Academy. 1-6-4, 0-4-8, a combined 10 deaths between them. Only 3 deaths on the other 3 players put together. It's really obvious where FlyQuest are targeting, because they know that this is the vulnerable spot on this team in this game.
Yeah, and it's really sad because Morgana Quinn should be a pretty strong lane. Morgana has the pushing priority and can set up picks with bindings and things like that. Yes, Braum is a strong laner, but he's usually more of a defensive one. And while Lucian can be very dominant, you think that Quinn, being the highest win rate champion in solo queue at least, should have a good laning matchup into him with the ability to blind, but they were the ones getting basically killed in the 2v2 multiple times over. And, you know, they took that matchup. They saw the Quinn, or they saw the Lucian, excuse me, and took the Quinn into it. And, yeah, definitely a disappointing game out of them.
Before we hopped onto the Rift for this game, you talked about how even though this is the final game of the split for OpTic, it's still a chance for the players who all show promise individually to show just how much they're worth, because other teams may be looking to scout them for their own academy squads in the upcoming split. And even though it's been a rough game for Eclipse and Gate, Palafox and Fnatic specifically, 5-1 and 5 on the Kindred, 6-1 and 3 on the Akali, these guys are having very strong showings.
Yeah, and they're two of the younger guys. Both of them, this is their first split of Academy, or first season at least. Palafox was found in Scouting Grounds and has come up and displayed himself to be one of the better mid laners in the Academy scene. And then Fnatic was one of the youngest junglers there at Scouting Grounds. And this is his first split now on the team. And having, like you said, a great game this time around. Just the team needs to stabilize a little bit more. They're down 8K, but with how big the gold leads are getting, and both teams having decent late game scaling, it's hard to say. Akali's a bit of an unknown in terms of how good her late game is. Having played it, your cooldowns get super low. You actually are fine with energy regen. You can kind of pop off, but it feels hard versus the big front line in lockdown for FlyQuest.
Fnatic going on to that front line now. He's got the black shield, which means he's not afraid of those concussive blows being procced and getting himself CC'd. FlyQuest want to retreat from this one. Alorum tries to block off that ramp, and it does end up separating FlyQuest Academy, who now find their mid laner and their support alone. Peckenwolf wanting to get himself away from this one. Palafox having to go into the stasis, keeping himself alive. It's 1-for-0 going the way of OpTic Academy. Peckenwolf going to take Fnatic low. He does have to pop the Lamb's Respite to keep himself in there.
Oh.
Meteos tries to go over the wall, but the Blast Cone's going to stop it. In comes Peckenwolf, wanting to make this at least a trade. Gate is going to be taken down here. No grabbing the kill credit on that one. It's support for support, 1-for-1 here, as Eclipse will be pushing down the mid lane onto the tier 2 as this Quinn. What is the call from FlyQuest? This is a team whose LCS roster is known for making these decisive calls in these types of moments. Can the Academy squad do the same? It looks like they can. The call is for Baron.
Yeah, gonna melt this Baron buff down. Quinn did push the mid lane turret, but is instead collapsing now to try and find them around this buff. Might be able to do it.
They want to go in. It's ultimately secured by Peckenwolf of all people. The Rise making sure that objective goes where they needed it to go. Meteos will be taken low here. Palafox wants to find the kill onto him,
kicked down,
but he's knocked away. No, make sure there's no cleanup.
Nice play by No to protect Meteos. Would have been able to trade most likely onto Palafox, but Palafox is just looking for a way to clean up some of these Baron buffs. Not actually able to do it. A very aggressive call by Palafox that finds him the first kill, but maybe a bit of an overcommitment after that. He goes really hard to go for the flash stun, but it only breaks the Banshee's Veil, so they're only able to answer back right away. Has to pop the Zhonya's and use his second ult to get out, but they find that kill. Here, Fnatic can just run away and hop up to the top side, but actually tries to engage on the Peckenwolf, but he doesn't have enough damage to actually kill a very tanky Rise. And so while we're joking about Gate's deaths, here he's going to give his life up to allow Fnatic to get out and slow Peckenwolf down, so Fnatic is able to live. But that all came off the back of a mistake by the jungler there, trying to 1v1 the Rise after Palafox is effectively dead. He's used all his cooldowns and is at 200 HP. Even though you did kill the enemy Braum, your mid laner is dead for, as far as you know, the next 20 seconds.
Yeah, when he loses all priority, all control, all agency in the fight, his screen might as well be black and white.
Yeah,
there's no way he goes back.
He's got a shorter respawn timer is basically the way to think about it. He'll be back in 15, 20 seconds, and we saw him try and come back into that Baron buff, but at that point it's a little too late, and now FlyQuest with their second one of the game, grab the mid inhibitor again.
They've got that up and running on 4 people, one of those critically being this Poppy, who will provide the split pressure, making sure 2 different minion waves are enchanted.
Twins on the flank.
Peckenwolf's in some trouble. If they take him down instantly, this is going to be really good for OpTic Academy. They got the Rise out of the picture. What else can they find? Quan's going to be the target now here on the front line. Alorum going to be taken down rather low. They're looking to find the burst onto him. Culling goes through a little bit more damage. We'll find the killing spree there for Airy, as now Fnatic gets himself jumped on. It's Lamb's Respite keeping him alive as No fights Eclipse off to the side. Fnatic going to go into the stasis here as well, utilizing the stopwatch. Still going to be killed. Palafox 1 versus 3 goes into the Shroud, but can he find the outplay? It looks like not. The piercing light will find its way into the shadows as the Nexus turrets fall, and FlyQuest Academy will find their win here against OpTic. It was a long, hard-fought game. OpTic tried their best, but FlyQuest show why they're going to the playoffs.
Not before killing a couple more minions, increasing those scores.
Pad those stats, baby.
Get those S pluses from the client. But a really nice game by FlyQuest. Like you said, very hard-fought game. Really had to prove themselves here, as a number of the members of OpTic were finding a lot of kills and making it difficult. But the better macro team reigned supreme.
The better macro team pulled off the macro that this LCS and Academy both. FlyQuest just seem to be finding it in being decisive when other teams aren't decisive and saying, nope, Baron. Nope, we're doing this. Nope, push mid. We're taking that inhibitor turret. And I love that, Mark.
You know what else?
I love that.
You know what I love?
What do you love?
Akali highlights.
Akali highlights. Let's see if we got some of those for you guys as we once again saw a solid performance from the new champ.
Yeah, and here, like you were saying, the 100-0 real quick. Also not taking the E until at this point, then can get the XQ with the Q ult. W out just for a little bit of move speed there. And then here, a really nice play to flash onto Meteos. Meteos flashes to try and trade out instead, but he'll just take the ult over to get that trade kill. Palafox started getting a big lead for himself, and a lot of the plays that worked out well for OpTic were coming off the back of him finding these decisive engages. Nice TP here for another cleanup, and you get to see why teams are playing the Akali pick there. It's still obvious that there's a lot to figure out on the champion, but you see how much agency it has to decide when I want to go in and when I don't. And when you do decide to go in, how hard it is for the enemy team to stop you from doing what you want to do.
Definitely seems like a strong pick, a great assassin to really go in there and, like we said earlier, have that moment where you say, I'm in control. Like, you're in the driver's seat with this champ, and depending on how well or how poorly you play it, you can come out on top looking like a hero, or you can end up in a spot that's not so great. But now that we've seen your thing, we've talked about the Akali plays, let's go back to my thing and some of these calls that FlyQuest made. 37 minutes in, they grabbed the Baron.
Yeah, and here you see Palafox going for a big play, and it does actually work out, the fact that they're able to kill the Braum right away. Here they just need to disengage, kite up to the top side, let Palafox reset, and you're up a man. Instead, they continue the skirmish going on, and they have the Quinn trailing from the backside, never able to get involved in the fight, effectively making this a 4v3, and Fnatic is forced away early on. Gate gives his life up to keep him alive, but after this, obviously, FlyQuest are healthy enough to look for the Baron. You see Eclipse try and make things dicey by pushing up the mid lane and saying, uh-oh, I might take your mid inhib. But like you said, FlyQuest, more than aware of the situation. They just go for the Baron buff, finish it off very quickly. If Eclipse had stayed in the top side, they're going to use the Baron buff to get out. Not the case, as they tried to win this fight on the back end of it, focus down Alorum, and then they go ahead and punt the Akali out, making sure she can't possibly clean Meteos up. And like you said, just very decisive shot calling. You can see that even though it's kind of jagged, it's always trending in FlyQuest's favor. And that's one of the things good macro will do for you, is that even if you're losing fights, you're losing them on your half of the map. So the gold never truly swings back with like, oh my God, all the turrets are suddenly down.
Yeah, there's no, holy cow, OpTic's totally in control of the game now. Everything's completely switched the other way. It's, okay, that fight didn't go as well as we thought it did. Maybe Akali's a little bit stronger than we were expecting, but at the end of the day, it's still a FlyQuest victory. And the Academy regular summer split has now come to a close. Our playoff picture is locked, so let's see how the teams stack up. Cloud9 and Team Liquid Academy end in the top 2 spots, earning a bye to the semifinals. CLG Academy will finish 3rd. Then we have a 3-way tie between the next 3 teams, resolved by head-to-head record, with Clutch at 4th, FlyQuest Academy in 5th, and 100 Thieves with the final playoff spot. That positioning means our first quarterfinal next week will be between Clutch Gaming Academy and FlyQuest Thursday at 3 p.m. And Counterlogic Gaming will then play 100 Thieves at the same time on Friday.
And this is a super interesting matchup to me, just because we heard both Academy teams that we interviewed today, who are they scared of? People are saying Clutch. No one apparently wants to play Clutch, and when we ask why, that bot lane's pretty good. Piglet has been messing kids up, and the rest of the solo laners have stepped up around him, and it made it so that you heard 100 Thieves say, yeah, we'd rather have CLG, and that's exactly who they got. So they better put their money where their mouth is now, because they called him out, and they got their guy.
If you get your wish, you better be able to take that guy down. Otherwise, you might end up looking a little bit silly. Academy is over, but the NALCS still has 2 weeks of play starting tomorrow afternoon. Game 1 pits tied teams 100 Thieves and Echo Fox against each other. Then it's the classic TSM and CLG rivalry in game number 3, while Team Liquid will look to hold on to first place against OpTic Gaming. Should be a lot of fun games this weekend.
Yeah, starting on that first game of the day, 100 Thieves Echo Fox is always a fun game. We have one of the slower teams versus one of the faster, crazier teams. One team doesn't like conflict and wants to spread you across the map. One team, all they want is conflict. So it's about which style is going to win out on that day.
Plus, TSM versus CLG. I mean, how can you not? The classic matchup. Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, NALCS to a T. TSM versus CLG. I made a rhyme and I didn't even have to. That's how easy that is. It writes the stories all on its own, ladies and gentlemen. But if you can't wait until tomorrow for more league action and stories, coming up right now is a rebroadcast of this morning's EULCS matches ahead of their live Day 2 broadcast, starting at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Central European Time. Now, for myself, for Mark, and the entire Academy crew, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next Thursday for the first round of the Academy quarterfinals. Says you don't want to fight Graves close and personal like this as No comes in and brings down the hammer. Let's see if they can make it happen. Gate is going to be taken very low here. The rotation comes through. FlyQuest able to find themselves one. Is it going to be two? Answer is yes. Now moving around in the Shroud, giving himself going still. Meteo's taken down below half HP. Peckinwolf and No try to zone the rest of the team away. Palafox goes down, and that one's going to be big. Peckinwolf finds himself jumped. Who even needs the Akali? Oh, wait, never mind. I guess you do need the Akali. Lips wants to come in from behind, looking to find the damage onto Meteos here. Now going to be taken very low himself, having to flash away. Shut down over onto Peckinwolf, comes in for Fnatic. Lamb's respite, keeping him alive. Has no fights, a clip off the side. Fnatic going to go into the stasis here as well, utilizing the stopwatch, still going to be killed. Palafox 1 versus 3 goes into the Shroud, but can he find the outplay? It looks like not.